In the conjunction of the real and fantasy worlds, where towers full of powerful monsters appear, a boy longs to become as strong as the strongest hunters are alive. His wish unexpectedly comes true, but with a catch: he acquires a strange skill that only works when he dies. Before we begin, follow if you want to zap into the latest anime trends, and hit the subscribe button so you never miss any update from us. The story begins with the broadcast of a news report about the Babylon Tower, where an unconquered monster resides on the 40th floor. The report depicts the unsuccessful attempt by the Black Dragon Guild to raid the 40th floor and defeat the boss monster. However, a top-ranked hunter emerges victorious after single-handedly vanquishing the boss monster. During an interview with a reporter, the hunter is dubbed the Flame Emperor, but he exhibits disdain for the nickname and reacts negatively towards it. As the news reaches a global audience, online comments flood in and a variety of opinions are expressed. Among the comments, some individuals engage in gossip about the Flame Emperor and his alleged romantic relationship with another hunter named the Saintess. However, an S-rank hunter by the name of Kim Gongja repeatedly posts the same desire: "I want to be like the Flame Emperor." Nonetheless, the reporter inquires with the individual referred to as the Flame Hunter for a response to the aspiring hunters. The Flame Hunter asserts that ultimately, those who are meant to succeed will succeed. He cautions that if they do succeed, they should not provoke him, lest they face dire consequences. These remarks from the Flame Hunter have a profound impact on Kim Gongja, who becomes obsessed with the Flame Hunter and unexpectedly breaks down in tears. Out of nowhere, a skill card materializes in front of him. The card contains a skill that surpasses an S-rank ability. The appearance of the golden card implies that if an opponent were to defeat him, he could claim one of his skills as his own. Overwhelmed by the card's contents, he exclaims, "What manner of skill is this?" A tower materializes abruptly in their world and is visible from any vantage point across the globe. Each level of the tower is inhabited by unique monsters from an alternate realm. The initial group that enters the tower upon its appearance is deemed worthy by the tower and is granted extraordinary abilities. Conversely, those who arrive later after hearing rumors only enter the tower with the intent to hunt the monsters. The impact of the Flame Emperor's statements continues to haunt Kim Gongja, leading him to seek refuge in a local bar where news of the Flame Emperor's impressive skills is being broadcasted. However, Gongja finds the atmosphere unpleasant and requests that the bar manager change the channel. Gongja becomes agitated and laments his newfound ability, expressing that it is worthless and cannot be reported to the Hunters Association. The bar manager urges him to exit the premises to avoid causing a scene. Once outside, Gongja continues to ruminate until he stumbles upon the Flame Emperor and his rumored partner, Miss Sanctus, having a heated argument on a street corner. He skulks around and eavesdrops on their conversation. According to the Flame Emperor, Miss Sanctus attempted to poison him, but he managed to turn the tables and poisoned her instead. He holds the antidote as leverage, using it to coax Miss Sanctus into revealing who sent her to kill him. When he asks whether it was the Black Dragon Guild, Miss Sanctus remains silent, prompting the Flame Emperor to incinerate her. Gongja witnesses the inferno and, unable to contain himself, emerges from his hiding spot and screams, "Murderer! Psychopath!" before fleeing the scene. The Flame Emperor tracks him down and kills him since he witnessed the gruesome event. Gongja awakens in a strange realm and is prompted to select a skill card, which mysteriously copies the Flame Emperor's ability. He later finds himself in his bedroom, perplexed as he watches news reports of yet another failed attempt by the Black Dragon Guild. He wonders how he managed to get there. After being killed by the Flame Emperor, Gongja discovers that he has copied the Flame Emperor's skill onto his skill card after being sent back in time 24 hours before his death. He realizes that the Flame Emperor must have died from the poison but came back in time to anticipate Miss Santa's moves. As he steps outside, he sees a fire outbreak and witnesses the Flame Emperor's arrival, where he boasts about his skills and demands rewards. Gongja decides to kill the Flame Emperor, knowing that he too has the same ability to go back 24 hours. He enters the fire to trigger his ability, but he dies. He returns 24 hours prior to his death and finds out that the Flame Emperor's first awakening was 11 years ago, making his permanent death only possible 4,050 days prior. He then decides to kill himself 4,050 times to permanently end the Flame Emperor. He repeatedly stabs himself and wakes up one day backward every time. Gongja arrives at the present day when the Flame Emperor's legend started, and he spends a few days observing the Flame Emperor's daily routine and movements. When he becomes familiar with the Flame Emperor's lifestyle, he disguises himself as someone in need of help and waits for him on the 6th floor of the tower. Gongja offers to buy the Flame Emperor's share of 20 gold, but the Flame Emperor declines and decides to extort Gongja by taking all his money without giving him the potion. When the Flame Emperor tries to kill him, Gongja stabs him and feeds him to the wolves. After changing his clothes, Gongja goes to the first floor and celebrates the demise of the Flame Emperor. He encounters a vigilante group and later meets the Sword Saint Marcus Kalinberry, who is ranked 100 in this era. Gongja believes that he can copy the skills of any hunter who kills him, even the rank 1 hunter. The Sword Saint speaks to himself in a way that makes Gongja uncomfortable, and he receives alarming messages on his phone about the Sword Saint's behavior towards those who offend his grandchildren. After leaving the bar, Gongja trails the Sword King, pondering about the Sword Saint's extraordinary skills, which are said to be on par with few like the Flame Emperor, who possesses an amazing X-rank returning skill. As he follows him, the Sword Saint becomes aware of Gongja's presence. They reach a secluded area, and suddenly the Sword King turns towards Gongja, who asks for a favor but is met with incomprehensible words. The Sword Saint accuses Gongja of murder after claiming to have seen the number of kills on his head, which shocks Gongja. He had only thought of Yua as his sole kill, but the Sword Saint reveals that Gongja has actually killed 4,091 people, including the Flame Emperor, and himself 40 times. This revelation terrifies Gongja, and the Sword Saint attacks him. As they fight, Gongja realizes that the Sword Saint may be sharing his information with others, making him a notorious target for revenge. With this in mind, Gongja concludes that he must die to copy the Sword Saint's skills. He then infuriates the Sword King by insulting his grandkids, which angers him the most in his life. After being beheaded by the Sword King, Gongja returns to the realm of skill acquisition to choose one of the Sword Saint's skills with a card, just as he did with the Flame Emperor. However, he is unable to find a golden card and has to settle for a silver or bronze one. After selecting a card, he implores it to grant him the skill that made the Sword Saint successful. He acquires a passive skill with an A+ rating, but not the main skill. When he opens the skill card, he hears a stranger's voice lying beside him. The man is asking someone his Gramps to train outside if he wants to improve his skills, but Gongja is bewildered and doesn't understand what is happening. Gongja tries to interact with the stranger and recognizes him from his time with the Sword Saint. The stranger is surprised that Gongja can see him, and Gongja confirms that he can. It becomes apparent that Gongja acquired the Sword Saint's skill of having a ghost companion that only he can perceive, explaining why the Sword Saint appeared to be talking to himself. The ghost companion becomes frantic and blames the Sword Saint for not being responsible enough, and now a random child clones him to himself. Gongja proceeds to explain to the ghost about the Sword Saint's ability to see the kill count on his head, but the ghost doubts how an amateur like him could have accumulated so many kills. Gongja then recounts his story to the ghost of how he attained his impressive number of kills and his aspiration to die at the hands of the Sword Saint to copy his powers and become the top hunter. The ghost listens to Gongja's story and asks to observe him in action. They head to the hunting ground, where Gongja begins killing low-rank monsters. The ghost realizes that Gongja does not possess any extraordinary hunter talent, but his bravery in the face of death is noteworthy. The ghost reveals that the Sword Saint also has another version of him by his side and expresses an interest in determining who could turn out better between Gongja and the Sword Saint. As the ghost grows fond of Gongja, he offers to assist him in surpassing everyone else and taking over the tower they reside in. The ghost wakes Gongja up early in the morning, and they argue about Gongja's lack of talent. They later meet with the tower's countess to gain a monopoly, and Gongja shows his lottery winnings to the countess's guild attendant. After being referred to the guild's manager, Gongja receives his 53,000 gold coins and the manager offers him the choice to make a deposit or spend it. Gongja decides to buy a title from Sang Ryan's guild and asks the manager to help him find a new apartment and keep his identity a secret. The ghost is impressed with Gongja's abilities. Gongja and the ghost then stroll through the city, and the ghost suggests that Gongja should either read martial arts scrolls or purchase potions to enhance his physical abilities. The ghost advises him to choose the latter and points out a store where they can acquire the desired potion. However, when they arrive at the store, they spot the Sword Saint entering, prompting Gongja to hide behind a trash can to avoid being detected. Realizing it is too dangerous to enter the same shop as the Sword Saint, they head to another store instead. While traversing the slum, people see Gongja talking to himself and mistake him for being mentally unstable. Eventually, they arrive at the second store and find their destined alchemist being robbed of her instruments and potions due to long-standing debts. Despite her pleas, the onlookers refuse to listen and leave her in despair. Gongja then approaches the alchemist and offers to place an expensive order, shocking her with the mention of 20k for the potion he desires. Gongja enters the rundown shop of the pharmacist who invites him in to take his order. When they discuss the price, the pharmacist insists that she won't fulfill the order if it involves drugs. Gongja assures her that it's not a drug order, and they proceed with the conversation. During the exchange, the ghost whispers the potion's ingredient to Gongja, which he repeats to the pharmacist. The ghost remains skeptical of the pharmacist's competency until she explains the mixing process. As they leave the shop, Gongja and the ghost discuss the pharmacist's expertise. Gongja reveals that he only ordered her because she becomes the head of the alchemy castle a decade later and despises the Flame Emperor. After 4 days, the pharmacist delivers the potion to Gongja and asks him why he chooses to do business with her despite her falling status and reputation. Gongja lies and tells her that he does so because she is a kind woman, and he wants her to succeed. The pharmacist departs, promising to prioritize his requests if he ever needs anything else. Gongja and the ghost then head to the 3rd floor hunting round of the tower to test the potion's effectiveness. However, Gongja experiences adverse reactions after drinking it, and the ghost teaches him how to control the elixir. As they converse, monsters appear, and the ghost orders Gongja to flee. Gongja decides to take on the monster orc despite not knowing how to defeat it. He relies on the ghost's instructions as well as his brain, gathering aura in his feet to increase his jumping ability and landing a strike on the monster's chest. However, his blade proves ineffective against the monster's tough skin. The ghost advises him to concentrate the aura on the tip of his sword, allowing him to finally slay the monster after several attempts. Because Gongja hadn't yet meditated on the use and control of the aura, he experiences a total body weakness that leads to his death at the hands of another orc monster. He returns to the realm as usual, and the ghost follows. Gongja reveals to the ghost that he always ends up in the realm whenever he dies, and he acquires the skills of whoever killed him. They are both surprised to learn that the monster orc also possesses skills and Gongja can obtain one of them. Follow if you want to zap into the latest anime trends and hit the subscribe button so you never miss any update from us.